How do you find community here at Pure Heart? What is Pure Heart doing for the community? These are the questions that we're going to answer today. Welcome to the Pure Heart Church podcast. I am Zach Good. I'm the producer on this podcast, and I think that we've got a great episode for you today. Whether you're part of our church community or just tuning in, we are so glad that you decided to listen in with us today. So let's jump right in with our hosts, Heath Bottomley and Matt Nystrom.
Hey, welcome to the Pure Heart Podcast. I'm Matt Nystrom. This is Heath Bottomley, and we're part of Pure Heart Church, and this is where we're just having some awesome interviews, sharing some funny things, just hanging out with some great people and enjoying ourselves and giving you a little bit of behind the scenes of what Pure Heart Church is all about.
And we got some great guests coming up, but one thing that we were talking about off camera and everything before we started this was pet hair.
Pet hair.
Because we're trying to pick it off of beforehand or whatever, because it gets everywhere. You have a pet.
I have two pets. So I have one.
You have two?
I have two. Gosh. One is a cat that is 18 years old.
That's not a pet.
And she has, she's outlived every other animal I've had. We've had other animals, other dogs, cats. She's outlived them all, and she was the first one. And I didn't think at like 24, it's about when I got her, it was like little kitten in a box that somebody abandoned outside my door of my apartment. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to find who this belongs to. And obviously it didn't belong to anybody. They just left it. It's like, well, cat, that's nice.
You were wrong.
I'm wrong. Yeah. I've not wanted to clean out litter boxes for about 15 years, and she's lived 18. So, for about 15 years, you just go, like, isn't it, like, you've had enough life, right, cat?
Yeah, I mean, this is what it's come down to.
Don't send me, she has a great life. I give her, like, the wet food, the dry food, like, she has a good life.
Oh, so it's a pampered cat.
Not a pampered cat,
really?
But I'm just like, she's old. Like, I'm like, no, cat, you don't get to lay on my chest. Like, so... and then we have a dog, a Labrador we just got. So she's 7 months old or something like that, and is just everywhere and chewing everything. She chewed 2 pairs of glasses. I also have a CPAP machine. Chewed the whole hose of my CPAP machine, so that was awesome. And you have?
I have a golden retriever. Same thing with their energy level. No cats. I did the cat thing a while ago, and they're not your pet, you're theirs. It's like they have their run of the house and you're just in their way.
Yeah.
And so I can't take that kind of demanding presence in the house. Yeah. One of me is enough. So
I think people that, and it's not a judgment on anybody, but I think that people that really enjoy cats are people that like want to feel needed.
I can see that.
Because, like, hey, this animal, this creature needs
feel free to email all responses to mnystrom at
because it is. It's like, a cat, like, they really, like, they want some things from you. They're going to pay attention to you. They're going to, and then when they don't care. So it's
they get annoyed with you. I would be petting a cat, and it's just like, no, I've had enough, and like, and smack it.
And
I'm like, I was just petting you. I was
trying to be nice.
Now, my golden retriever never does that. In fact, it's like, I stop petting, and it's just like, gives me the look, like, what, did I do something wrong? Yeah, like you're done petting.
And they're just always, they always are there. They always want to be there. Yeah.
But the energy level, same thing. Like, we came home once and the entire carpet was chewed, and the padding underneath it, it looked like it was snowing in our living room. It was that moment, almost like the
actually makes
the money
me feel
pit.
better about my circumstances, because it's been some shoes and some things, like, you go, but your carpet,
it was
not cheap.
There was no going back from that, and it's just I had the maniacal laughter of like Tom Hanks in the Money Pit. It's just like, what do I do?
But the dog lived through that.
She did.
So you must be a good Christian that forgives.
Yeah, it took a while. I couldn't look her in the eye for a while. But no, we love Jovi. Jovi's a great dog, and she's 8 years old, and the boys love her. And it's one of those things too. She's a dog, like a sturdy dog.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I'm like, I don't want a dog where it's like you trip over them and they break,
totally.
Or, something bad happens. It's like, Jovi, she'll knock you over.
Yeah.
She's a good 70-pound dog, it's like, and I'm like, and it's a dog.
Our Labradoodle has started doing this like parkour thing off of you. Like, where she literally runs and jumps off of you like
springboard.
Like dog. Yeah. Like, you can't do that. No, we were talking earlier about the fact that, so I've got this Labradoodle. Our previous dog was this is a black Labradoodle. We got it as a rescue. I didn't pay a whole ton of money for it. Like, just a clarification, because Labradoodles are expensive.
Yeah, and people get really worked up about that. Like, why would you pay money when you could have adopted? You could have.
We adopted. It was a rescue Labradoodle from a bad breeder that they took all their dogs from. But and through the Humane Society, blah, blah. So it's microchipped and spayed and all that stuff. But what happened is we wanted to get a Labradoodle because our previous dog was a Border Collie Shar-Pei mix. So that sounds like a weird combination, but think a Border Collie with little tiny ears and black and like mostly white with black spotted eye and black ears. So we called him Panda. But his hair was everywhere all the time, and white hair on stuff. So we're like, black dog, and supposedly they don't shed Labradoodles and stuff. But what I find amazing is that there's some people that you go, oh, they've got animals, like, you know, just because it's reality of you see it on their clothes. But I never see dog hair on you, and you have a dog that is a shedding dog.
Yeah, and she's blonde, you know, golden retriever and everything, and it's like it's everywhere. It's the OCD side of me spends a lot of time, and I wear a lot of black. I mean, those who know me, I have, it's mostly you go to my closet and it's like black, and then there's the colorful section, which is different shades of gray in my closet.
And a splash of white here.
Yeah, occasionally there's a splash of white. I do have like a red shirt.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen that.
I have
How many years have I known you?
Blue, you know.
I've seen the blue.
Yeah.
You know, I've never seen a red.
That's
I've
when
never
I feel
seen a primary color.
Yeah. I can see I don't have anything bright green. Nothing.
St. Patty's Day, you're just like,
no, I'm like,
although you have gray pants, you have greenish.
Yeah, but this is like, dark. This
dark,
is, they're like fatigues.
Yeah, fatigues. Yeah.
But, she sheds all over the place, and just the OCD side of me is very meticulous with getting it off and sitting there picking. I mean, even right now, I'm like, there's one, there's another one, you know, but it's very little in comparison to people who you are like, they have dogs.
Oh, yeah. So this Labradoodle, if someone's not familiar with it, Labradoodles have super curly hair. So like a poodle, because they're part poodle, part lab. And we have a tree. It's my neighbor's tree. It's over our backyard. And it sheds like this polleny, they're like little branchy things. Like a little tiny
burrs?
twigs.
Okay.
They're not really a burr, like the ones that step on it hurt your feet, but they're just, they're like little tangly stuff that falls off it. Never been a problem. The Labradoodle loves to go there and get right under it, and she rolls and digs in it, and they get all attached to her fur. So one, she comes in, you got to try and pick it out of her fur, and she doesn't like that because you're yanking on her fur. But then they fall over the house, and when you vacuum, I've got one of those like Dysons. When you vacuum it clogs up the Dyson because they're like little mini trees. So then you're constantly trying to dump it out and get it out of the So
the joys of pet ownership.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to handle that tree while it's like pollinating and a Labradoodle.
Got to get rid of one or the other.
Yeah, well,
either tree's got to go.
Tree's got to go.
Yeah,
neighbor, you don't mind if I cut down your tree, right?
Oh no, they're very friendly and hospitable to those type of things. Yeah. So
it's good.
Right before you move.
Sure. So. But we got some great stuff, some great interviews that are coming up today in the podcast, and so let's jump into it.
I'm looking forward to it.
As a dog owner myself, I can attest that dog hair spreads everywhere. It gets all over my clothes, the inside of my car, and I've even had the unfortunate luck of finding it in my lunch. Yeah, it's pretty gross. And it gets so easy to think that we're the only ones covered in the pet hair. I think oftentimes the way that we carry the burdens of life can be a lot like our pet hair. We think that we're the only ones dealing with it, that we're the only ones with the pet hair on our clothes. But as we've learned with Heath and Matt, a lot of other people are actually dealing with the same things that we are. They also have the pet hair. They also carry a lot of the same burdens that we do. And that's why it's so important to get connected in the church community and why we ultimately created our Heart Cruise here at Pure Heart. So let's jump in with Erin Rathier, our Heart Cruise director, on why we do community the way we do and why it works.
So I always heard you can always tell how old you are by when you fall. Do people laugh or are they concerned?
Oh.
So your daughter
lost her mind.
Thinks that you're young. So because she, from what I heard, laughed hysterically. So
for a solid 7 minutes. Yes.
So that's appreciation. She's going, oh, my mom's young, so she wasn't concerned in the least. So.
But there were 5 of them standing around me, and the other 4 looked horrified.
They were on 911.
I'm not sure where to land with that. Thank you.
What happened? Like, paint the picture.
We were walking from Red Robin to an escape room, and the sidewalk just got in the way. Mike, my husband, was being a smart aleck, and I looked at him, missed the little lip in the sidewalk, hit it wrong, tripped and fell, had 4 young people standing over me, 3 looking concerned, 1 laughing her head off. So I fractured my elbow and I
Ouch.
fractured my rib.
Ouch.
Yeah.
And they're
It's
on
very
opposite
interesting.
sides, so it's
Opposite
this.
sides, my right rib,
Oh,
my left elbow. So the first 5 days were very interesting because you can't move any
Yeah.
way, shape, or form.
because you can't do anything with this arm, and
Nope.
then if you try to do anything here, you're gonna feel
You're
it here.
twisting,
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Hey. That's
Yeah.
Good times.
It's a learning
And
experience.
this was the start of your spring break, right?
the start of my 2-week spring break.
Yeah.
It was our first night out of
Nice.
freedom and then just stuck at home.
Yeah. Your body was thinking responsibly. It's going, I know I'm going to take 2 weeks to need repair, so I might as well
Yeah.
start now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I've known you for, we were just talking about it a little bit earlier, for 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
And a majority of those 13, 14 years, we have worked together.
Yes.
And so I can attest to the fact that Erin does not sit still long at all. You're always, and if you're not doing something, you're thinking about the thing that you're going to be doing.
Or what I could be doing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, that kind of brings it into this whole, the most current season that we're in. You joined the team here at Pure Heart how long ago?
It was a year ago last October. It was a year ago October. So that I came on as contractor to help get groups started. And then in January, I think, or February, we made it a permanent situation where I
Yes.
decided to stay. Yeah.
Which we were all grateful for because we were already planning on you staying long before you were.
I
ready
know
to say
you
yes.
were
Yeah.
planning on me staying.
I got a plan. I've got things rolling around in my head.
The minute you messaged me, I was like, oh, here we go. Heath has a plan.
Hey, Erin, what's up? Why? No.
Yeah, it was specifically, are you busy? And I said, really busy. Why? Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of.
But you knew. I think you knew my answer. You just needed to give me a minute to think through it, right?
Yeah,
Did you? I really got to know. Did you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you knew.
Yeah. Well, because I
Yeah.
have a sense of I know what's on your heart, the things that you really enjoy doing. I will say this. I was bragging on you earlier with
That's
John
nice.
Jennings.
Thank you.
And I said, one thing that I've learned is, though you did not enjoy this, anytime we moved you around in ministry,
Yeah.
right when you were like, but I'm really happy here, we'd shift you to something else. But
Yes.
every single place that I was part of moving you to, or whatever, it flourished.
Thank you.
And I think it's because you have a heart that is that cares deeply about what you're doing. It's hard for you to jump into something unless you really care about it. But then it's like you can't help but not push it to succeed.
Yeah, you know that crazy test of Strengths Finders? My number 1 is achiever. And my second one is activator. So,
Nice. Yeah.
so I'm going to do it now and I'm going to achieve it.
It's going
Which is
to
really
happen.
difficult in my head sometimes. But yeah.
Unpack, what does this small group ministry look like?
So I think for me, the first thing about it was that I saw a church doing it very successfully for 30 years and never changing it. And you've been in church as long as I have, but there's always the latest and greatest. We're going to do this now, and we're going to do it this way, and it's going to get you all the great results. And all of us as churches did whole campaigns for them. And then for a minute it worked. And very quickly, it kind of trickled back down into the normal range for what seemed like the normal range for small groups, about 30% or less of the church involved. And North Coast, I was there for something totally different. And I just was like, what is going on at this place? And it turned out it was the small groups that really kind of struck me. And they had 85 to 90% of the church in small groups for 30 years. And I thought,
Amazing.
and they said, we really haven't changed anything. And I thought, what are you talking about? That is not church life as I know it.
How are you staying relevant?
Yeah. And continuing to get these same results year after year. And so basically there's a few things that just made it really easy is they haven't changed it every few years, which I think the consistency works in its favor. It is structured through a system of semesters. So instead of asking people to commit to an entire year, we have 3 semesters, which is just what they do, what they taught me. And so we have some natural breaks for leaders, for people, so nobody gets burnt out. There's always this anticipation of when semester's going to start. We take a break from Thanksgiving to New Year, and everybody starts getting antsy. Like, we need our groups back.
And
But
some
it's
don't
good.
even stop. Like, they refuse to actually take those
Yeah.
breaks, even though we
Well,
encourage them.
The first year.
Yeah. And they're
The
like,
second year, the leader's like, I think we're going to take a break. Come
Yeah.
on, what a good plan. What a novel idea.
if only someone had thought of that.
Yeah, if only it was
Genius.
structured that way. So I think that's a big deal. I think also a big thing was tying it to the weekend message. I think that was a big deal. A lot of people come to church on the weekends, and it's hard for them to make another commitment. But when it's tied to the message and our pastor is telling us every week, in your small groups, you're going to do this. In your heart crews, this is what you're going to do. People want to follow our pastors. I mean, that we're made that way. And that's why we're here, because we believe our pastors are leading us spiritually. So if they think this is important, let's do it. And it eliminates a lot of study time. We don't have to read big chapters and books.
Because you brought up something about the whole book reading, because that's what our default. I
Yeah.
mean, growing up in church or whatever,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, we're going to go through this book, we're going to do this study, and things like that. But you had pointed out something, some statistics or survey that was done with the amount of people who actually pull back from it, from
Yeah.
groups because of that.
Yeah, so years ago there was a study that said men, which don't take offense, it's just a study, but that
hurt.
most men, 85% of men will not read another book after high school or college. And then at North Coast, their founding pastor, Larry Osborne, said, but what do we do when we put them in a small group? We hand them a book and tell them. And he said, and then we wonder why they don't keep coming back and they're not getting anything out of this. And so he's the one who kind of said, we're going to tie this to the message, write our own curriculum. But then I just recently saw a news study that says something like 60% of people don't read even one book a year. And I was like, so now it's not just the men, it's everyone.
I have no box for that, but I understand that
Yeah.
exists, because I talk to people and they're just like, I'll mention something, I'm reading this book, and I'll ask questions. So what are you reading? And just the blank stare of like, nothing, and I don't understand that. But
Yeah.
personality wise, it's actually a large percentage of
Yeah.
people, because they're much more socially engaged
Yeah.
and pulled in other things, or work life or whatever other scenarios are pulling so many things are vying for people's time and
Right.
attention, which is
Yes.
why this fits so well.
Yeah. Yeah. And that brings up another point that is really important, is that as a church, if we're going to take on this idea that we want so many people, everybody on our campus in a small group, we have to make sure that we're not giving them a million other reasons not to be in a small group. I think at the end of the day, this is where spiritual growth happens best, because I think as much as I love books, I love to read, but it's not just about gaining information. Jesus, when he started his earthly ministry, what did he do? He grabbed 12 guys and said, hey, let's go. And they lived together, or lived their lives out together, walked together, ate together. And then they were literally learning from the word, because he was the word, right? And so it's just more, there's a relational piece that has to come into this whole discipleship mindset and this discipleship process. And so the perfect place for that to happen is in a small group of people where you can get to know each other, you can care for each other, but you can also read God's word. You can ask questions. You can say, hey, what'd you think of this? Or this is what I thought of that, when we're going through that stuff. And so I think that's a big deal, is not competing. I think the enemy would love to keep us out of small groups. And that's where I think a lot of times in church life, we have gotten it wrong. And I'll say we, because we've been a part of it. But we start adding all these extra things for people to do. So of course they're going to do other things, and they're not bad things. They just might not be the best thing for spiritual growth.
Well, I mean, the people automatically go, oh man, I don't want to get involved with something bad or whatever. Bad stuff is not as tempting as something that's really good that just happens to steal your energy.
Absolutely.
And the enemy would love nothing better than to keep us lonely and isolated.
Yes.
And that's what I love about how we do small groups, and we call them heart crews, but is that it really plays into the social dynamic, the as you are going part of scripture, where, because I've grown up in so many churches, I know you have as well, where it's like, okay, we have a discipleship plan for you. Right. And it's like, but it's very linear, in the same way that we do school and everything like that. But the problem, it's not a problem. It's just the reality is that we as human beings, we are not linear in the way that we really cement information. It's as we need stuff, as we encounter, that's when we're most, when information becomes, if it's accessible, we actually put it to good use.
Right.
It's like, if I learned something 10 years ago, in the moment, I'm trying to pull that information back going, I wish I had listened closer, but that's what this is. It's going, surround yourself with a group of people, and as you're doing life together, strong discipleship comes to the surface, because you're dealing with what's happening in your life right now as you're going. I remember the phrase, and I share it with you, that leaders like things big. We like the big weekends. We like the, hey, let's cram as many people into a service as possible. But people like things small.
Absolutely.
And that's what this is accomplishing.
Yeah, because I think people want to be seen and known. And in a big, huge room, it's very unlikely that you're going to be seen and known unless you're the one up on the stage or in front of all the people. And so if there's no place, and I mean, you know me, I love a big worship service. I love
Me
a
too.
big,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's fantastic. And it's not that that's not important, because it is important, but there's another piece. If that's all we do, we're missing the other piece for the individual. The individual needs to be able to walk in a room and everybody in there knows who they are and knows what they're going through and knows different things happening in their lives. And then that makes that time together in the big room that much better. We send feedback forms out every semester, and this woman, yeah, and because we want to hear, you know, is it going well? Are we on the right track? How's the curriculum that we're creating? You know, that kind of stuff. But she shared in there that she had never known how to pray on her own, and her crew taught her how to pray, and now her and her husband and her daughter are praying together and seeing God come alive. And I'm just like, she was in the right place, right where she needed to be, with people she trusted, to say, I don't know how to pray. Who knows if 3 years ago she had been taught to pray, if it would have been the same thing. Where was she with God? What was God doing? What was the sanctification process at that point? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. There's so much stuff that we hear, but we don't know how to apply it, and so it gets lost.
Yeah.
You know, but I'll tell you what, when I apply something, it's the same thing, like the way that my brain is wired very weirdly. We all know this. But like, I know that if in conversation, if I write something down, even if I never look at it again, just the act of writing it cements it into my brain differently because I'm acting on it, you know? And I think spiritually it's that same, if you have a truth that you can apply to something that's happening in your life, it sinks really down deep into, it's like wet cement, and it just hardens in there. You know, it's like, okay, now that's information that I have.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's what small groups, crews do, is they give you a group of people who are at different levels and different stages of this. I don't want to say levels, but maybe stages of this walk.
Different experiences. Yeah.
With God. And so I've been in 7 or 8 different crews over the last 7 years, just because I tend to start them and then hand them off and start another one. But I'm always amazed at how God brings the people together. And everyone's different, and we'll get in the first one and I'm like, this is going to be interesting. And then I'm like, oh, this is really interesting, because this person and this person need each other, and this person and this person need each other. And it's just fun to watch how God will bring the people together for those things, you know, and you start seeing it. The more you're together, you start seeing, oh, I see why we're all here together this way. Yeah.
Which, I mean, if you read through the Gospels, it's the same dynamic that Jesus was dealing with, you know, disciples from all different backgrounds. You can imagine that when you put yourself in a crew, you go, oh yeah, I can see how this was probably really cool, but also there were some hurdles of personalities that you just had to, quirkiness, because we are all quirky. We just think that we're normal. We're like, I'm the normal one in the group.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when we go to Walmart and we go, I'm the normal one here. But how many people are looking at you going, yeah.
Bad choice.
Yeah. You know, I mean, we always see ourselves as the normal one in the group. But the truth is we are all unique, and we all have our own quirkiness and blind spots. Yeah. But what's cool is you put yourself together in a group and you start covering each other.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that word, covering. That's good. Yeah.
I'm excited about our life cruise. I'm ecstatic about how you know your stuff on this, and you have really pushed us in a positive way, which I knew you would, and we're seeing the results from it.
One of the things I love right now during signups is most of the people coming to the sign-up table, I'll say, oh, how long have you been at Pure Heart? Oh, this is my 2nd week.
That's so
this
cool.
is my 1st week. I'm like, your 1st week? Well, we want you connected. And then I'll check with different leaders about like, okay, I know I put a 1st week person in there. Are they still there? They're like, yeah, they're still here. They love it. And so I love that. I love that. We want to celebrate this year what's happened over the 1st year. We have some plans for a celebration at the end of the season, and then a much bigger party in the fall to launch. That's what we want to do. We don't have all those details, but we have some big ideas, so we're going to see how that pans out.
So fun.
Yeah.
So this is probably the heaviest question out of everything, and so as we wrap up and everything, but based on everything that you know, the amount of time that you spent here at Pure Heart, who is your favorite staff person?
I knew this was coming up. Okay. I'm like, where are we headed with this?
Yeah, it's important because
man.
I mean, I know. I mean, Matt's interested. He really wants to know. He's got his guesses, but
Even just yesterday, we're in staff meeting, and I'm just in awe of the staff culture here, and the way the staff cares for each other. That's not normal in every church, and not even just ones I've been in, but even friends who talk about different things. And I've been here in staff meetings for a year and a couple months now, and I am just in awe of the staff culture. And I know everything's not perfect. I'm not dumb. I've been in church a long time.
you're dealing with people.
Yeah, it's people, but the general, the way staff cares for each other and cheers each other on and wants to know what's happening in other staff members' ministries and lives, and I'm just impressed. I just feel blessed and privileged to be here and a part of that. And like, oh, I can learn a lot of things about leadership through this, like there's even more to learn through that, and even challenge myself with, like, am I being that kind of a presence here and anywhere else I am, so honestly, to choose a favorite, I don't know if I totally could choose a favorite at this point. I could maybe have a top 5. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, as long as we see that list,
as long as your name's in there.
Yes, I mean, I'll hand you the list. I'll get it started.
You'll get it started.
Yeah, just you
just want to see it.
A couple recommendations.
You're up there in the top 5. I wouldn't be here if you
Aw,
were.
thanks. See, that's all I wanted.
Yeah,
I just needed affirmation.
You absolutely are.
So now, who's your favorite child? No, we won't. I won't do that. So, Erin, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and
thanks for having me.
We're excited about everything that's happening with Heart Cruise, and looking forward to having you back on and talking about where we're at with percentage-wise moving on as we continue to grow.
That's awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
I loved getting to hear more about our Heart Crews. If you want to get connected in a Heart Crew, go to pureheart.org/Heart Crews to find your crew. Let's jump to our interview with Arthur Brown, where he reveals his faith journey and how it ultimately led him to his new position as our First Impressions pastor.
So, Arthur Brown, we got Arthur Brown here.
What's going on, man?
Arthur, what position did you just move into here at the church?
I have moved into the First Impressions pastor.
First Impressions pastor. So what does that do?
So the pastor of First Impressions oversees the greeting team, the ushers, the baptism, heart and soul, and just basically serves as a connecting piece to a lot of the members. And
so you aren't the guy that like checks all the Google reviews to see what their impression was?
No, sir. No, sir. I didn't know we had that.
So right now we have the deep melodic voice of Arthur Brown in the microphone. Arthur, I think you were made for radio. Have you done anything like that with your amazing Arthur Brown voice?
I can't say I've ever done radio. I always wanted to. I used to go in my old life by Chino Brown.
Chino Brown?
And
why is that?
Well, last name's Brown. And in the Mexican culture, Asian, they'll reference you as Chino.
Okay.
And so, again, last name is Brown, so I go by Chino Brown. I embraced it. That was actually my rap name for the longest time. But I love old school R&B music.
And literally a rap name.
Literally was my rap name, yeah. But when I loved R&B music, old school, Kool and the Gang, Al Green, and I always wanted a radio station. I was going to call it Sundown with Chino Brown, and it was going to go something like Sundown with Chino Brown. Ladies, whatever you want to hear, give me a call. We'll put it in your ears. Sundown with Chino Brown. Oh my God, Chino, we love you, and I love you too.
I love that. That's awesome.
Again, old life.
Old life. But it could be, maybe, how can we incorporate that into the faith-based version?
I'll have to think about that. I'll have to think about that one.
So you've moved to the First Impressions pastor position, but you've been here at Pure Heart for how long now?
Been on staff a little over 5 years.
5 years.
Been transitioned from the Go team, working with Pastor Bob and them. That's pretty much the global and the local missions team. So a lot of the work beyond the building of the church. So all the stuff within the schools, the Mexico missions, Guatemala, El Salvador, as well as our partnerships with the Department of Child Safety, our business partners that help out with Christmas time and other events, and Sleep in Heavenly Peace, where no child sleeps on the floor. We go do bed deliveries once a month.
I think what's always amazing to me is here I've worked at Pure Heart for 10 years now. And, obviously there's all these different ministries doing things. But to constantly hear from the Go team that there's like a new initiative, a new thing, and you're going, they got another thing they're doing, another way they're ministering, a new way they're connecting. For the amount of people on that team, the size of the resource center, just the impact and the reach it has, I just go, man, if we could magnify that to the entire world, like the world would not be hungry, the world would not be struggling. I mean, it just I just am amazed by what you and your team and the other people that you had as coworkers on that in the Go team that you guys were just doing and the ways you were impacting. What were some of your favorite things of that?
Man, to start off with, though, at Pure Heart, we talk about we want to do the right things for the right reasons. And one thing I love about Pastor Bob's heart is we don't want to just fix problems. We want to build relationships. And so a lot of the initiatives we do, we try to gear it towards building those relationships. And so, for example, Harold W. Smith, that was a school that we've been working with for almost 3 years now. And, we really believe God led us to that school. There was another school we were trying to get
And
into.
doing with Harold W. Smith?
Well, a lot of things. When we met with them initially, the assessment was, hey, what are you guys good at? Also, what are some of the things you guys need help with? Simple things as, they didn't have trash can liners for their campus. And so the floors were pretty trashed. And, we try to figure out what are immediate needs, what are long-term needs. One thing that we had figured out was they had, for standard state testing, they were below 19% passing. And so that was one of the goals that we worked with for a long term. And how could we do that? How can we help increase this score and get these children to learn more? So we helped them create an incentive room. And through our partnership with LifeBridge and our business partners like Fullerton Financial, we were actually able to acquire a lot of goodies, whether it be games, toys, supplies. And we built this room where as long as they show up to school, they get, tickets for that. If their behavior and their academics are increased or show improvement, they get tickets for that. And then at the end of the month, end of the quarter, they get to go in and shop and get some goodies. And then they were doing quarterly rewards. We've done a few where they've a quarterly reward is if everybody's grade showed improvement, which they were all doing, we would do something like host a dance. And so we brought in a DJ from here. We brought a few people from our team, and from 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, we switched out a grade every 50 minutes and had a huge dance party, black lights, glow sticks, all the good stuff.
I hadn't even heard about that.
We do a lot of things here at Pure Heart, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Not to be critical of any other churches, absolutely. We're the body, right?
We're called to our mission that we're called to.
Absolutely. And, the body has many different parts with many different functions, but we're all under one body. And so we don't all have to do the same things. But again, just the way that Pastor Bob is geared, it's, Jesus didn't wait for us to come to him, right? He came to us. And so it's the same thing. We don't just wait for the people to come here to us at the building. We'll go to them.
And you mentioned that room for the, all these...
The incentive room?
Incentive room, where all these toys and games and stuff are. And man, I got to film one of the first times when kids were going and receiving some of the presents, essentially, like the things they'd earned from this incentive room. They get to go in and pick it out, and like the just looks on these kids' faces, you just could tell that's not something that's part of their daily experience, being able to go and pick out some of these toys that probably their parents and family wouldn't be able to afford because a disadvantaged neighborhood, with some very working class, struggling families. And so to be able to reward these kids for their behavior, just seeing the look on their faces was amazing.
Absolutely. It's definitely a high need school. It's a transient probably population. And, growing up myself after my parents' divorce, life was pretty rough, right? And so there was Christmases where, I got a sleeping bag one year because my mom's friend knew we weren't getting anything. And so when you come back to school and everybody else has stuff and got stuff and you didn't get anything, it's, beats you down a little bit. And so one thing we love to do is just come in and just instill some hope and just let them know, hey, man, you have value, you have worth. And the world will say a lot of different things, but, you can do anything you want. And that's what we go in there to do is just, there are kids at Hope School. And so, again, it's just reminding them that, hey, you've got hope. There's always something to look forward to, no matter what your situation around you looks like.
Yeah. And I kind of diverted it back there a second ago, but what was your favorite thing out of all those different areas you got to serve in, or top couple?
Man, the schools were great, but one of my favorite things is our partnership with Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And they would do these builds once a month before they got their actual warehouse, and they would build these beds from scratch that could actually act as a bunk bed. And we'd go to deliver them to kids who sleep on the floor. And I had somebody ask me, they said, man, is that still a need? It was, I think it was last year, 2023. They said, oh man, is that even a need right now? And I said, well, it's such a need that we actually had to close off the applications right now because the backlog is so much. But man, praise God, they've got a warehouse now and they're able to do builds every month and without taking anything out. People come to them. But what I love is you go in there, you bring a team with you, and the kids see everybody coming in. We're setting our stuff down. You hear all this commotion, the hammering, the drills as we assemble these beds. And we ask the kids, hey, hang out outside real quick. Let us finish, and then we'll call you in. And as soon as we finish, we call them in. The bed's set up. They've got brand new mattress, pillow, sheets, blankets, stuffed animal, and the look on their face, just big. That's mine? Yeah, who's getting the top? Who's getting the bottom? And we run up there, and they let us take pictures sometimes so we can help promote it and just get more funding and support. But it's just incredible. It's one less thing the parents need to worry about, and the kids, man, their eyes light up.
And we had been in partnership with them for almost 2 years now.
A little over
maybe?
2 years, almost 3.
And in that time, how many beds? Any idea how many we gave?
So
away?
we started as with their builds, but overall, my biggest goal with them was to be a delivery hub because they didn't have anybody in the Glendale or Peoria area. So as of October of 2022, we went ahead and partnered with them. So October of 22 till now, I want to say we've done just under 200 beds or at 200 beds. Last month was our biggest delivery month. We did 31 beds.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Like, it's not just beds, though. That's what I love. It's like a child that's parent can't afford a bed and they're sleeping on the floor now has a bed.
Absolutely.
31 kids. Like, that's...
But even more so than the bed, Bob will talk about, what we do is a means to an end, a greater end. And what I love most is when we go into the home, we'll put the beds up, but afterwards, as we're exiting, I'll talk with the mom, because typically it's normally the mom. And I'll talk with the mom and say, hey, what's going on? Is there anything we can pray with you about? And they'll tell me what's going on. And so we always bring packets with us that have our resource center address and hours. We have the church campus information. We invite them to come worship with us, as well as, hey, if you need food, come check out the resource center, and then we'll pray. And there's a lot of times where we'll leave a home with the mother and the family kind of crying and tears of joy, right?
Sure.
Again, just another opportunity to provide hope. And one thing yeah, absolutely. One thing I love too is, we come off as heroes a lot, which it's not a bad thing. Thank you so much. And, receiving the first thank you, but after we get a few more thank yous, it's important to say, hey, this all comes from God.
Yeah.
We get to be the ones who deliver it.
Yeah.
And so always just pointing back to God.
And that's one of the things I appreciate about Pure Heart is we really try and it's not about us. We get to be a part of it. We get to donate into it. We get to give towards it. We get to go build beds. Whatever the need is, we get to go serve on building salads to distribute out to the community or whatever those things are. But ultimately, it's God that's allowing us to have the resources and the people and the volunteers and all those things, and even connecting the people that we get to help. But what I love is all these things that are so cool that you've been a part of. And I think someone would then go, well, why would you switch to a different team at Pure Heart? That seems like that's something really rewarding and really affirming. So I'd love to hear about what was because those are things I constantly hear and share good things. It's like nothing was bad in that. What brought you to this sort of transition to this new area here at Pure Heart? What's God put on your heart for it?
Matt, that's a great question. And I can tell you it took a lot of prayer and consideration to actually switch over and interview, because I absolutely love the work that we're
and
doing.
Bravery.
And
Bob, you wouldn't chase you down?
That was the hardest thing. I had peace that God gave me. Like,
Pastor
hey, this
Bob
is where
is
you're
coming
supposed to go.
after you.
But man, one thing I love that he said is when I had my talk with him is, hey, you don't belong to me.
Yeah.
You belong to God.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing is, I started attending this church back in 2015, 2016. I got baptized in 2016 here. Pastor Rachel, who's actually the lead over the First Impressions and Connect team, was the one that baptized me. And so this is a great segue because when I first started coming here, I didn't know a single person. And I came every Sunday, kept my head down. I still didn't feel good enough to be here, or worthy, if you will. I have a big past behind me. For those who don't know, it was actually a DUI that brought me back to Christ. Praise God, I was okay. No seatbelt, no airbag deployed, and the young man I hit was okay as well. But God used that opportunity to
and
change
your car,
my life.
I've seen pictures of that car.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't like a little...
No,
little
it
fender
rolled,
bender.
it slid the roof, and it landed back on its wheels. And again, the fact that I'm even alive is a miracle. And so that's something that I held on to, that God has a plan for me. And so I started coming to church. What does that mean? What does that look like? And so I'd come to church, and I'd come in Sunday, I'd sit down, I'd do my service, and then I'd go home. I'd jump in the Bible, but I just still, I needed more, right? And one thing I loved is when I finally had the courage to step out. I emailed the church. I used to sell cars, and after I left the car industry, I had this job where I'm getting off at 3 p.m. I don't want to go home and watch Netflix all day. So I reached out to the church. Is there anywhere that I can serve? They directed me to the food pantry at the time. And from there, I built a community with some people there that became like family. But that's where I discovered, man, I got a servant's heart, right? I love to do this. I love to help people. But what I did was, God led me to, we had what used to be called the Tuesday night men's connect group here. So it was a group of men. It was not a Bible study, so to speak, so much as men coming together, asking questions and sharpening and building one another up. And so Tuesday nights, I'm at Men's Connect. Tuesday nights led me to a Wednesday night Bible study with another group of guys. I'm serving Thursday nights at the food pantry. I'm attending service on the weekends. And God literally transformed and changed my life. And so the reason I wanted to switch over is because this is the opportunity for me to kind of speak into and to pour into others. The same transformation that God brought to me through Pure Heart, I have the opportunity to do for them now. And so I don't want people to waste time. I want to see people as they come in right away, connect with them. And then from there, just walk alongside them and let them know, hey, man, there's hope. You thought life was always going to be this way. You thought it was always going to be bad. But, man, I promise you, you continue to stay persistent and God can do some great things.
Well, I know Rachel, she was super blessed and excited to have you join her team. And I think part of the reason is because you didn't just start doing this when it became your job. Like, I've seen you do this consistently over the years you've worked here. You had Go Team you were on and stuff, but you're being a part of caring, loving people on the weekends, welcoming them, make them feel like they belong, like there's a place for them. Like, hey, can I direct you somewhere? What do you need? Do you need to know where the resource center is? Do you need to know where the food pantry is? Do you need to know where any of the things are on our campus, and really getting people connected, and that value that you have, I think really fits now so well. It wasn't that you started doing a thing because it now became your job. It's something that you've already been doing. So as we've kind of heard about your story of, God used really serving, volunteering to begin to grow you, to get connected in community, to begin to find joy in pouring out to others. And so, there's people that they always go, man, I want to serve, but I don't, I've heard this before. Like, I'm not sure how to do it or what, who to talk to. So if they, let's say, go, hey, some of the stuff you talked about, bed builds or giving food in the resource center, I want to be one of those parking lot people that's now we've been missing since COVID, or I want to be one of those patio people. Like, what are some of those? What are some of the directions you would point them to get connected with those different areas of volunteering and serving?
That's a great question. Well, first and foremost, come see me or somebody at the team at the Connection Hub over the weekend services.
In the
lobby, Glendale campus.
Glendale campus,
building 700. But yeah, come to the Connection Hub. We can get you plugged into different opportunities. The weekend services is a good starting point. Just kind of, if you will, get your feet wet. But what happens is as you come in and you start serving there, you learn about other opportunities, and you can get propelled into another ministry. The Life Bridge at Pure Heart actually has orientations, new volunteer orientations every month on the first Sunday of every month. And we needed to actually start doing that because Life Bridge was doing so much that, again, most of the members here didn't know about half the stuff that was going on. And so there's tons of different opportunities. And what I love about serving is it takes the attention off yourself. During my DUI, man, I'm doing this and I've got all these problems, whatever. I got somebody in front of me whose son is in prison, whose husband recently passed away, and she's not sure how she's going to pay rent. But we're giving her this food, and I talk with her, I pray for her, and she's still smiling and has joy. And it's like, man, if she can still have joy, what am I complaining about, right? Maybe my life's not as bad as I thought it was, or my problems aren't as big as I thought they were. Not to be dismissive. But serving really takes the attention off ourselves, and I would encourage anybody listening, if you've thought about it or considered it, just be bold and take a step out. That's really the first step, is just taking a step. And then from there, seeing what God can do. So you can see us at the Connection Hub for different service opportunities with the First Impression team. LifeBridge at Pure Heart always has opportunities, but even the creative team, you guys are always looking for help for different things, right?
We totally do. Yeah. And sometimes it's stuff like, it's interesting that you said, like, there's moments where it's like, hey, let somebody else find joy in it. Cause I'm a person that's tends to just get it done, and we're just going to do it, and we're just going to, and there's when we're doing that, we're not letting other people have the opportunity. That's actually how I get connected to Pure Heart myself. Is there was a need to help build sets at a Christmas time, and they were overwhelmed. We had a much smaller staff at the time, and I got to know people, and I eventually ended up on staff here at Pure Heart. And I think that really my encouragement for people, that they go, man, I just don't know that I have time to serve. Man, do it with your family. Yeah. I had the opportunity to do different things of serving with my daughter, who's 8, and as she gets older, I want to do more and more age appropriate stuff and show her there's value in serving and caring about others. Because I think that's the thing that my parents, no parent did it all right, but that's, I think, one thing my parents did really well. So I always saw them serving, and we were along for that ride of trying to care and love others. That we're going to be the ones there to tear down. We're going to be the ones that are there to set up. But we're also going to stop and see people along the way, make sure that they're seen and cared for. And so I think that for anybody going, I just wish I hear Arthur talk about his story of, man, I wish I had time. And I think that we don't have time not to have time.
Yeah, we're making time for something, right?
That's
how
true.
much Netflix are you watching? How much Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook are you? And I don't say that in a critical way.
No, but it's. I think if we look at our phone, that little wellness thing, we'd go, oh, it's more time than we'd think.
Absolutely. Well, man, I found myself. I got lost an hour. I didn't know I was on this thing for an hour. I got to put this thing down, right? But when it comes to children and the next generation, sometimes I think we can dismiss or underestimate what they can offer and what they bring. My youngest niece, she was going to junior high service, and it was only at 11:30 service. I'm on staff here. I got to be here at 7:30, and she lives in Avondale. And so it's like, hey, I'll grab you, and you can come to church, but you're not going to sit down for 2 services and just be on your phone. Like, you got to plug in and do something. So at first, she clung to me, and so I would be greeting in the lobby and hanging out there, and so everywhere I went, she was. But then she even brought a friend one time, and that friend asked if they can go serve with the 2 and 3-year-olds. So I got them connected over there, and literally, my niece has been serving in the 2 and 3-year-olds for the last 3 years, I think, 3 or 4 years, and she's in high school now. And again, I said she lives in Avondale, and the high school service here at Pure Heart is at 6:30 at night to 9:30 at night, and I've been the one who would have to pick her up and take her home. So I made a deal with her. I said, look, if you're willing to give me your Sunday morning, a couple hours of your Sunday morning, and come serve with the children's, the 2s and 3s, I will come pick you up at Pure Heart at night after high school and take you home. And that is an hour and a half, 2-hour process. But if she's willing to give me her time in the morning, I'm willing to give her my time in the evening. And it's paid dividends. She's growing, she's learning, she's becoming stronger in her faith. And again, she just recently got baptized. And so growth sometimes requires discomfort, and it could be inconvenience. Right, but it's through that inconvenience and those other things that create and bring opportunity.
Yeah, so true. Arthur, thank you for just being willing to share vulnerably about some of the stuff in your life and share your story and your journey, and then also just shine a light on some of the stuff that is happening here at Pure Heart. Because we try and highlight that on the weekends, those videos and the kind of in the between the worship and the sermon. But man, there's so many great things that God's allowing us to be a part of, and I'm just excited also now to see you following into this new role that, again, I've seen you do it already. So I just know that God's going to use you in some exciting ways. So
I appreciate that. I'm so grateful and glad to be here, and just want to encourage all those out there listening. If you've thought about it, take a step out, see what God can do. It can change your life. Love it. Appreciate you having me, brother.
I loved hearing Arthur's story. If you have the opportunity to attend our Glendale campus in person, make sure you stop by the Connection Hub and say hi to Pastor Arthur Brown. And if anything he said made you interested in serving or in one of our ministries, make sure that you also stop by the Connection Hub or go to pureheart.org/serve to find out more. So let's check in with our worship pastor, Brenna Pavkov, to find out what we don't know.
we're with Brenna, and Brenna, you are the wealth of knowledge for you're around young people. We're a little bit older, and so we want you to inform, disciple, impart all the wisdom and knowledge from young people for this moment that we are calling.
Tell us something we don't know.
Oh, and I will. So, obviously, Taylor Swift has been all the rage lately.
I've seen her a couple times.
Yeah, like there's like
Yeah.
that Super Bowl thing she was at.
She went, she was somehow there after being in like Japan. Craziness. So I did go
She
to
had
the Eras
a backup
tour.
plane to get there, backup private plane, like just in case. So like they had mechanics at the airport ready
And
for her.
I can
thank
so
goodness
relate to
she
that.
made it in time. I was worried
Thank
they were going to
goodness.
have to hold things up for her.
Well, of course they had to because it was a plot.
So you are both.
Super Bowl Monday. Yeah, just so
This is
that
true.
the Swifties would be entertained.
Yes, we must be.
Absolutely.
So you guys are both pastors. And so I thought what would be really fun is to quiz you guys on whether this is a Taylor Swift lyric or if it's a passage from the Book of Lamentations in the Message translation of the Bible.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
I'm
So the
scared.
first one is
At least we
this.
didn't get into Song of Songs.
No.
Yes.
Lamentations. The first one is this. Long were the nights when my days once revolved around you. Is this Taylor Swift or is this the Message version of Lamentations?
I'm. That's actually harder than I thought it would be. I'm going to say that's Taylor Swift because would you revolve? Would the Bible be like you know, I revolve around you?
But
Yeah.
the Message translation, like,
That's
so
tr-
it's
ah,
putting it
that's
into
fair. That's true.
modern vernacular. See, there we go again.
This is your second time using
Yes.
the word vernacular
Yeah.
in the past 20 minutes. Yes, that was a Taylor Swift lyric.
Good
All
call.
Good job,
right.
Good
Matt.
call.
Yay.
The
We're
next
so culturally
one.
irrelevant.
The next one is this number 2. Did you have to do this? I was thinking that you could be trusted. Taylor Swift or the Bible?
It sounds like Taylor Swift dogging on an ex-boyfriend.
It is Taylor Swift.
Yeah, that does feel like very like her, you know.
Mhm.
Jack in this.
Just like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you
Even the
guys
head motion. Yeah.
have a favorite Taylor Swift song?
What's the one? Never ever getting back together.
The song We Are Never Ever Getting Back
Okay,
Together.
there he goes.
So my daughter-
Appropriately titled. Yes.
My daughter's been loving that. Like she's been playing over and over the "Me, It's the Problem, It's Me."
Yeah,
So that's kind of like I would say that's the one Taylor Swift song that I'm like, oh, I know that song
you know that one.
because it's on Alexa a lot.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and she doesn't listen to it once. No,
She has
it's
it on
just,
a loop.
It just goes on and on.
No.
I knew
that-
I loved
Bless
Madison.
her heart. Yeah.
Number 3 is this, like shadows in a faded light. Oh, we're invisible.
I'm gonna go Lamentations.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Lamentations because that feels like shadows.
Oh my gosh,
Faded
it was
light.
Taylor Swift
Was it?
again.
Man,
Are any of these
this
Lamentations?
is gonna be like one of those quizzes
To be
like you had
honest,
in
I
like
went with the
school,
law of averages.
where it's multiple
Yeah.
choice and they're like all A.
Yeah.
And you're
And you
just like,
overthink
and you're like,
it.
there's no way they're all A. Like I, you know, there's 10 questions, they can't all be A, and so you like purposely change it.
Yeah.
And find
That
out.
was my reach. I'm like, I can't just be Taylor Swift again. So
No.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to be really so honest. I did not proofread any of this. I just found a quiz online. This is
feels
I
like
think the last
stealing.
one, because now I'm realizing this is timed and we only have 30 seconds.
Oh,
I gave up on life altogether. I've forgotten what the good life is like.
I'm gonna say Lamentations.
I'm gonna say Taylor Swift.
It was Lamentations.
Boom.
Okay, actual last
pastored.
one because it still says we have 15 seconds.
Oh.
You'll find out what it's like to get drunk and wake up with nothing. I didn't
I
read
bet- I
it.
bet
I'm gonna
that's
say
actually-
Lamentations
I
again.
think that's Lamentations.
It actually is. It's in
That
the
felt like
Bible.
Lamentations.
Like so, a couple people right now are like, "Well, they're talking about getting drunk on the." Oh, okay, it's just.
Come
Oh,
on,
it's
guys.
biblical.
It's in the
It's-
Bible.
yes.
It's in the
Said
Bible.
Said you're
Calm
gonna
down.
wake up with nothing.
Mhm.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's in the Bible, y'all.
You pay your money, it takes your chances.
Well, you guys did really good on this one.
Thank
I
you.
feel very relevant.
You
right
know
now,
a lot
you know?
about Taylor Swift now. You know a lot about the Bible.
Yeah.
Yes. More about Taylor Swift than about the Bible, unfortunately.
Oh, unfortunately.
So, but we'll work on it.
Such is life
Yeah.
sometimes.
Mm.
Be of the world, not in it. Be in the world, not of it.
All of us
We're
need
getting
some work
there.
on our Bible.
And it's
so,
okay
yeah.
to not be okay. And we always have said that at Pure Heart.
Yes.
And we will keep saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
Taylor Swift.
That spoke to me.
Taylor Swift said
her
that,
lyrics,
not us.
her lyrics say it's no. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's Taylor Swift or Pure Heart Church.
Wait,
Better together, Taylor Swift or Pure Heart Church?
Out
definitely
of
not
rows
Taylor
into
Swift.
circles.
Yeah. Yeah. According to her track record, it's not Taylor Swift. So.
Yeah.
Who knew that Taylor Swift and the Book of Lamentations had so much in common? So if we've got any Swifties listening, Lamentations might be your book to study this week. I don't know. On that note, to prepare for your journey through the Book of Lamentations, let's hear some great dad jokes from our resident Pure Heart dad and music director, Alex Friend.
So, as we've mentioned before, what happens every week before the band kicks off on the weekend is Alex Friend, our music director, kicks off just into the headsets of those who are on stage, dad jokes. So if you're looking up on stage and you see the band just shaking their head with a blank stare, now we know why. But we wanted to give a chance to introduce these on a regular basis here on the podcast. So without further ado, here's our segment, Heard It From a Friend.
I think these ones may be my favorite.
Your favorites.
Yeah.
You're setting the bar really high.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. A little dangerous.
All right.
Have you ever tried archery blindfolded?
I have not tried archery blindfolded.
You really should, because you don't know what you're missing.
No.
No. Missed the target.
Come on, that was good.
You see what he did there? Is he okay? Yes.
Okay, well, we already have the dangerous aspect going.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always wondered, swimming with sharks. On your bucket list, yes or no?
In a cage or not in a cage?
Either or.
Well, that's a little different.
Yeah, I mean, very different.
Different
Either or,
outcome.
well, if it's either or, I'm going to be
Yeah.
with the cage.
I'm going to
Okay.
say not at all.
Not at
No,
all.
yeah.
Okay. But do you think it would be expensive? Because probably outside the cage, it would cost an arm and a leg.
Oh. I was trying to think. I was like, there's got to be something about a fin. Like
No.
a fin.
No.
See, Matt, we've already
okay,
talked about this.
yeah.
You think too far.
Yeah.
Thinking too
Just
far
let it
ahead.
go.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to just, an
Think
arm
as
and a leg.
little as possible, and you'll
Truly
enjoy the
as
whole
little.
process more.
All right, this is no longer dangerous. We've already gone through that
Okay.
category.
Why are we
But-
telling dangerous things to our children, by the way?
I know. Well,
they're
actually, it's
still fun.
discouraging them
Yeah.
because they stopped
Exactly.
listening
Like,
minutes
it's
ago.
Double trauma. Bad jokes and fears.
And they're like, and fast forward. No.
Yeah, see, you just gotta my algebra teacher would always say, 2 stones, 1 bird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever works.
Yeah.
Get the job done.
Yeah.
That was not on my list, so
Okay.
we're not
Oh,
counting that
okay.
one.
Yeah,
so-
I wouldn't count it.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
I had a Latin teacher who, in 7th and 8th grade, he would always say, always, and by always I mean all
Every
year
day.
long.
Mhm.
If a kid came up and passed in his homework, he'd be like, they'd go, his name's Mr. Weibel. They go, Mr. Weibel, like, hey, I'm done with my Latin homework or whatever. And he goes, dumb. I never thought you were dumb. Kind of a dad joke, kind of funny. The first time or two we heard it,
You get a chuckle out of it.
get a chuckle.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were ready to beat children in our class, after the first couple months, and that
Yeah.
went on for 2 years. Any kid that went up to the front and didn't be like, "I'm finished." Yeah.
So how long did it take for you to change your verbiage?
We tried
Day
to as
3.
quickly as possible, but sometimes it slips out.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah,
That makes sense.
Mr. Weibel with those little, he had those knit ties. Remember those knit ties that were popular in the 80s?
yeah.
That kind of dates me, but yeah, that was. Yeah, he had one of those stretchy knit ties, bright colors like pinks. and
Our very
stuff.
own Jill Blackman. Every time
Wears a knit tie?
no, yeah, she wears a knit tie every
I hadn't
every
seen
day.
that.
Yeah.
No, it's that you walk it anytime you're like, I'm hungry. She's pleased to meet you. I'm Jill. I'm like, stop it. Stop
Every
it
time.
now.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
I haven't heard her do that. That's-
Oh, you're lucky.
Very lucky,
Yeah.
honestly. I'm love jokes, and that one I'm done with.
You're
Yeah.
done with it.
Yeah.
He started swinging last time. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
No, I am trying to organize a hide and seek tournament. Good players are hard to find.
Okay, that's
Oh, it's good. It's
Yeah.
bad. It's ugly.
It's great.
Yeah.
already fine. Where are they? I can't find them.
Yep.
Good. Well, thank you for that
Yeah.
segment,
You
and I
are
can safely
welcome.
say that this one is
Everyone's
now
life.
over.
What is that? What is that?
We're all now dumber having.
Yeah, the quote for Billy Madison. All of us are now dumber for having listened to.
Not only is that wrong, it is so wrong.
I will take that
May
as
God
a
have
compliment.
mercy on your soul.
Oh, thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
I just want to say thanks so much for listening in with us today. We have a lot of awesome episodes that are coming up, and you're not going to want to miss them. If you like our podcast, make sure you follow and subscribe so that you do not miss an episode. Also, make sure to follow us on our social media pages so that you don't miss a thing that's going on here at Pure Heart Church. We love you, Pure Heart family, and we will talk to you next Tuesday.